Now we're moving to the following panel, and then we have three distinguished specialists of this market, and we start with a friend, Alice. So please join us on the stage. A big round of applause for Alice, Vice President of MAGRABi Retail Group, from building e-commerce again in Lordiana to steering brand storytelling for Cartier, Bulgari, and Avignonesi wines. Alice journey reads like a masterclass in luxury done right. Now leading the premium business of MAGRABi, she brings together creativity, heritage, and a little bit of rebellion, but the good kind. Alice is known for the forward-thinking approach, and he is about blending strategy with soul and never say no to pasta, because we are Italian, ballet, and karaoke, and that's true. So this is Alice, and Alice, please have a seat, will be seated close to, I need to turn the page, to Darine. Darine is here. So Darine is General Manager at E-commerce and Omnichannel at Chalhoub Group, a true retail remix regular. So there's one champion after the mantra is Darine is here with us. With 16 years across beauty, retail, and tech, she's helped build and scale some of the richest, biggest digital success stories, from film22.com to goldencinch.com, and now, of course, the big Chalhoub Group. A strategist at heart, but a builder by instinct, she proved that data and creativity can actually get along. And we have also one man. Now, tonight is Marc. Please join us on the stage, COO and CTO of The Given Moment. A builder, a doer, a leader who lives in one mantra: get done, right? With over 2 decades of experience across tech, retail, and operation, Marc has scaled teams, built systems that power growth, and turn bold ideas into tangible results. A Given Moment, it blends innovation with impact, providing the purpose and performances that can go hand in hand, and previously featured on our very own retail remix stories, where he somehow managed to make fashion, purpose, and tech sound effortless in one breath. So thank you so much for talking. And I'm very, very happy to have you here, because we now get some other experience. We had Boss and Dior, but then we have a very mixed panel, and I'm interested to see what are the contribution. Chalhoub, a lot of brands under your umbrella. One of maybe the biggest distributors in the region for eyewear, and then a magnificent global brand that you represented tonight. We start with you, Alice, talking about leadership. So you have worked, we already mentioned, for international group, LVMH, but also Luxe. So you are the expert of eyewear tonight. So how does the digital and commercial leadership at MAGRABi differ from those global organizations? Because yes, MAGRABi is still a regional company.
Thank you, Giulio. Good evening. Hi, everyone. As you can guess from my very subtle accent, I'm Italian. So I apologize in advance for that. And I would like also to remember everyone that I was a proud member of the Thundercats. So this is just...
Well done. Well done.
We.
Yes.
So, sorry. So, I think I'm giving you an answer today that is very different from the answer I could have given you maybe 10 years ago. We often find into very well-established leadership that comes from big corporation a lot of reassurance. But it's also leadership that is more difficult to manage. Normally, when you are in companies, I don't know if you're familiar with today's Luxe numbers. Luxe is the largest eyewear manufacturer of the world. 26.5 billion revenues. The name today is Luxe. And I started there at the early stages of my career. And I had the privilege of being exposed to a leadership that was not yet established, because I was working in the retail division, the sun retail division. Back then it was Sunglass Hut, and we were really building it from scratch. So it was not a startup, because it was still 1.5 billion top line division, so it was big, but it was small compared to the rest of the company. So there was a lot of dynamism. And I can say the same also from LVMH, but because we were in Loro Piana together in a very special, transformative moment that the company was living. So it had just been acquired by a big brand, but we were still really going to build the next chapter of evolution of the company itself, regardless of the function. And I was leading digital and e-commerce, so I was really at the forefront of innovation with the other guy over there, Alessandro. We had a lot of fun. We actually opened for Loro Piana back then, the Middle Eastern region. So, but what I learned from my experience in MAGRABi, in the MAGRABi Retail Group, and I joined 10 months ago, so quite recently. We have over 300 stores in regions spanning across Egypt, Saudi, UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. We're pretty much covered. There is, we are risk takers. We have a big ambition that is normally bigger probably than the muscles that we have today, but this is what pushes us. And this is a very specific choice of leadership. Not to stay within your comfort zone, not to play within a very safe type of environment, which we do that. I mean, nothing would stop us if we wanted to go in a different direction. But we keep pushing forward. We keep doing it in everything we do. This is always complemented by an exquisite commercial discipline. And the discipline I'm finding now in this group, I've never found in any other company I've worked for.
Very good. So it's literally a little bit a contrast of the MAGRABi today, that you push and you risk, compared to what we hear before, where you need to fight and hope that the HQ is allowing to risk a little bit, because sometimes big groups they like to be in big frames, right? Very good. Darine, so Chalhoub is widely recognized as the regional leader in omnichannel solution. And it's in such fast-moving market, how do you ensure that the digital strategy remains agile and ahead of the curve?
Very interesting question. Is the mic working? Thank you so much. I think it's a very complex question that you're asking. I would frame it from the angle of the business that I manage. So I was very grateful for the very candid comments of the panelists before me. Like, thank you for moderating such a panel where everybody was open about the challenges. Obviously, it's not a done deal, or like we don't have the magic pill. We operate in big, complex groups, right? But as Alicia mentioned, it's important to be agile and take risks. So you have to see where the trends are going and to draw your roadmap across the different elements between tech, operations, customer service, marketing, of course, and your own assortment and product catalog too. So there's a lot of elements to balance out, and it's not an easy day-to-day task, let's say.
But you're continuously working on it, because I have this in mind, that how difficult it is for your role to manage and to coordinate the strategy from different brands that the Chalhoub Group owns, and if there is a global strategy from Chalhoub. So is there two different speeds, where you have the Chalhoub strategy from a digital perspective, and then the local brands for the the brands that you own that sometimes can go for different paths and speed over to what you wish. Do you face this most of the time, or is something just in my mind?
So I work for the Chalhoub own brands. I work for Faces.
Okay.
And the strategy is quite clear. So when we're talking about omnichannel, what's extremely important is not to just think about e-com. So omnichannel for us is having the customer at heart, making sure that the customer experiences are well thought out of, and that we design experiences that are seamless across every channel and natural to that channel. So also you notice some retailers force some experience onto customers because it's trendy or it's new. This is not the way that we see omnichannel at the moment. Of course, we're still on the path, just like your colleague mentioned, we're moving from multi-channel to omni-channel, and we're building these touch points. But again, the idea is not to look at e-com separately than offline, and to make sure that the teams, have a shared vision. We found the best way to have the shared vision is from looking at the customer data. So when you start to understand your customer more, look into the customer data more deeply, understand the customer on each channel and their behavior and their omni-channel behaviors, you can have everybody on board to say, kids, this is the right way. Otherwise, both channels tend to fight, right? And say, like, each one is stealing customers from the other. I don't know if you face the same thing in your organizations, but we sure did have a lot of these conversations until we proved, like, what does the omnichannel journey for the customer is like, and how do customers convert between one channel to the other, how the channels support each other. And actually, no, you cannot force a customer to shop on one channel versus the other. Every offline customer receives emails. This is the simplest example. Every email from e-com sometimes has offers, right? It's because e-com tends to have better offers than offline. This is what our offline colleagues say. But somehow they do not show online.
So removing the silos, as we said before, and connecting the dots is the true go-market strategy to have a seamless experience. Very, very clear. Marc, you are a homegrown UAE brand, right? And you can move faster than many global names, as we hear before. So can you share a digital or omnichannel project that sets you apart? Something global that brands can't easily replicate it.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, so we started on a different journey from all the other panels. I would say we started online first. We were born during COVID, actually, during when everybody else was probably struggling deeply at retail and thinking about how to do it online. We were doing only online.
Yeah.
And massive growth in the first couple of years. But then what we started to see is the retail's channel, our first pop-up, and worked out really well for us. And since then, we've been moving towards retail, and I would say, how do we direct them? We push our online customers to retail. It's much more profitable. So that battle always wins out. But one thing that we realised, we scaled so quickly into retail. We opened, double-digit stores in less than 12 months because we move fast and break things pretty much all the time. And we don't have our HQ is one roof. It's about twice the size of this office. So if I need someone from anybody, just walk up to the desk and say, I need this. So there's no hierarchy, there's no other office, there's nothing there. Everybody's under one roof and everybody visits retail and everybody knows their customers. So we decided that why are we constantly saying we should do better on omnichannel? Why don't we just do it? And so in January, we kind of achieved our first big milestone. We essentially developed our own OMS system that would connect all the dots. And so one of the things that we've talking about customer journeys is that for a long time, we used to treat online like this kind of amazing architected tracking system. We had all the data from our app, from our website, and knew whatever we was doing. And then here comes retail with no data, no behavioral data whatsoever, just transactional data with nothing else attached to it. So we started putting AI cameras into retail. We started, one of the things we did online quite early on, cookies disappeared, is we anonymized customers. We kind of tagged them with anonymous IDs. So why can't we just do that in retail as well? So we also did it in retail. And so now we have anonymous IDs attached to the customers. And when they do finally purchase, we connect all the dots. So what you're anonymous until you purchase, and then we connect all the dots. Now we've been doing this for a year. We now know if we spend here online, what happens in retail. If we spend here in retail, what happens online. We know how many touch points it takes, which stores they go to, what they do, which channels they visit, every single thing. So now we've got a year of data. So now we're building our strategy for next year, and we're filling the gaps. So we've got the data, we've got the infrastructure. It's the strategy now. That's what do we do with all this? And so I think that's what we've accomplished. And probably rightfully so, like a lot of other brands will struggle with that because you've got headquarters in the countries, you've been established for a long, long time. We are a very young company. We're 5 years old, so we literally move very fast and just make it happen. So that was one big achievement, I'd say, on Omnichannel. They're kind of already there. Our customer journeys are completely backed. What we've not done is fill the gaps. So we need to now look at what the problems are between having, say, digital wish lists across both channels. Do we even do it? Do we pick up in store? Do we not? So this is our next kind of endeavour to figure out how do we fill the gaps we see in the customer journey. But yeah, in terms of data, infrastructure, martech, marketing, journeys, we accomplished that quite early on. So
very good. So the agility that you had in your DNA, and let's say the quality of data that you started by acquiring that from online and now putting the stores, allowing you to open how many stores now, you said?
We've got 8 of our own stores in UAE and 7 overseas as well.
Yeah, so congratulations. Very good example how a local brand is developing a such successful story. We talk about digital with you, Marc, but now let's go to the amazing line. So AI is with Darine rapidly redefining personalization in retail, and we said before with Alessandro and Roger about that. But with amazing line, so is the AI beauty coach at Faces. You have turned this concept finally into reality. And what were the biggest learning from the launch phase? And how are you planning to scale? We spoke about with Alessandro about a lot about scaling things or enhance the role of AI across the consumer touchpoints.
Thank you for this question. Very excited to talk about Layla. So I was happy to hear Roger had the same concerns as all of us have in retail, right? Offline, you have this warmth of the beauty advisor or the sales consultant. You have so much knowledge. You craft every piece of the journey, but we do know that the online journeys is quite often disrupted, impersonal. At the moment of truth, all of us, from the most luxurious brands to the most mass brands, have the same product page, more or less, right? It's like this very, let's say, squeeze design meant to convert, and then the customer at that page and at that moment of truth and any other part of the e-com journey actually has very little assistance. So we wanted to solve this for our online shoppers, and we wanted to make sure that we utilize AI the right way, right? We utilize AI across different parts of the business, which were already mentioned by the fellow panelists. But this was very important for us. Like, how do we bring the warmth and expertise of our beauty advisors to this moment of truth? How do we live our USP as well as Faces online by becoming this beauty coach? So we created Layla. It was a, let's say, long journey, but quite disruptive and fast, much faster than any other project in our pipeline, even faster than OMS, for example. A lot of learning. So what I like to say is Layla is our newest recruit. She's only 16 weeks old at the moment. She's so live on the app for quite a short while, but we've had amazing learning. So more than 80,000 conversations with Layla so far. Customers who converse with Layla stay for around 8 minutes longer. They convert 2.5 times better because of her personalized advice. So she's able to advise you on your skincare routine, answer questions about the specific product you're on, like, is it good for my skin? Is it good if I'm pregnant? How do I use it with other products? And also answer very nuanced questions about fragrances, for which we really were astounded, like how knowledgeable the customer is, but at the same time, like also how good is she to walk along with you and answer you, like, what I'm traveling to Bali, which perfume should I wear? So it's real conversational commerce, using LLMs and so on. And the big part of our work as well was making sure that it's culturally relevant. So working on the brain to make sure that she can answer you in any Arabic dialect, even if you're talking in Arabizi, in letters, Lebanese, Egyptian, Saudi, whatever it is. And this is why like we're seeing fantastic results. In the future, like what we've heard now, when we demoed Layla to our management team, they said, oh, she knows much more than RBAs now. So like the first ask from the retail team was, I was worried that they would feel like it's competition for the BAs, but they're like, no, please, can we have Layla as well for RBAs? So this is the next thing we're working on immediately, is like how to bring the assistant to the BAs, because they're finding that ChatGPT is competing with them now. A lot of times customers come into the store and they're bringing screenshots from ChatGPT. It's really happened very fast, right? And then utilizing AI to the max is on our priority for the customer-facing experience. So how can we build virtual try-on very soon, skin advisory and diagnosis through image scanning, and many other similar elements where we really see customers needing it both online and in stores.
It give us really a big motivation to go right after this panel to have a look in the app. Thank you so much. I go back to you, Marc, because before you mentioned agility. You mentioned that your organization is pretty much flat. And we talk now extensively about data. And what is the word that comes in my mind is Gen Z. So how you're preparing your organization for the rise of Gen Z in leadership roles over the next decade?
Well, I would say it's, our organization is, because we do move fast at things, we constantly redesigning the teams. And I would say the latest batch of team members who are on HQ, about 30% of all our HQ right now is Gen Z. So we move quite fast to get them on board with great ideas, by the way. Some crazy ideas also, but we like that as well. And I would say, to be honest, our leadership team is also what we've got mid-30s. So we're already, we're already quite young. They're young, so everything bonds quite well. And I would say Gen Z's for us, what we're seeing a pattern of is that they move up the ranks quite quickly. When I first came to the class, I was 22 years old, and it takes 4 years in between promotions and things. But Gen Zs are so hungry to move that they're wanting something in 1 to 2 years, and so, which is great. That's of course merit becomes rewarded, and I know that we will always encourage that kind of growth. So I can see a very near future where you'll start to see leadership roles starting to be filled by graduates. That same Gen Zs who came straight out of university and whip the ass out of people who have been in the industry for 20 years because they want to get the details, they want to look at what AI is saying. They're not old school, they're not doing it by the book, they're doing it outside the book. And I think that's making a big impact, especially what we've seen is that, I would say at least of the Gen Zs we have, I would say at least 90% around of that number, which is a representation. So I'm excited to see how they can give up with that.
Amazing. I personally think that the Middle East and especially Dubai is the perfect field for Gen Z to start to work in a leadership position, right? Because your company is the most beautiful example here how this can be a good field, again, as I said. I go back to Alice now. So we spoke again about Find and how Find can support the development of the digital ecosystem in the fashion industry, also in the fashion industry, but with external partners like Find, again, driving innovation. How do you see the collaboration from regional hubs like Dubai and shaping your future strategy?
I think that the very first important starting point, it might seem quite silly, but it's a strategy. So we often go, not often, it might happen that some companies, not us, might go to interact with partners that can actually help us in being at the forefront of technology, like Find, without having clear in our mind what is the strategic agenda, what is the sandbox they can play within, because we need to do it. Otherwise, it might be quite complex for us, for them, and at the end for our consumers. So I think that having very clear what is the agenda of each brand, each partner, each anything we might want to amplify, that is super important for them to translate our needs into flawless executions.
That's very interesting. So if you don't have the strategy, no matter which partner you choose, you're not gonna.
I mean, you might have sweet surprises, absolutely, but I think that it is fundamental in the success of the relationship that everyone being on the side of a company or of a brand puts them in the condition of really behaving as accelerates. Because otherwise, it's complex. We risk to lose trust into the consumers, risk to lose trust in us. There are high expectations, and I think that they can deliver amazing experiences. We need to make sure to put them in the condition of doing so.
In the right condition. That's very clear. Very good. Thank you so much. We go back to Mark. Again, I like the agility, and we said that you are the best example tonight here. So how do you leverage the startup agility to compete? And this is let me finish the question. To compete with international giants in omnichannel. I still think that you are maybe one of the leaders, as just what you have said, the omnichannel strategy. But do you feel any pressure, or do you think that the competition can teach you something on omnichannel from bigger reality than yours?
No, I think really the certain things with omnichannel on our wish list. There's always budget concerns and things as well, but like the Zaras of the world, kind of inspire us in a lot of ways with their RFID self-checkouts as well. It may not be the right place for certain luxury brands here, but there's certain conveniences that the customer is now expecting almost. And I think we want to have the personal touch. We purposely always make sure that, we measure engagement rate. We want to have, our client advisors always speaking to customers to upsell and things. But what we're now realizing is that there's potential to maybe look at these big players and see, instead of being more personalized, we want to make it more convenient. So, because a lot of customers don't actually want to be spoken to things, especially tourists. You see, be it 50% of say tourists and residents, which is get into buying more, even more, it's straight price box standard. And the tourists don't actually really want to deal with people, and which is it's a challenge because we're also used to giving them a kind of white glove experience, helping them try things on and telling them what good match and things. And so we actually do benchmark a lot with other brands as well, especially we're a bridging brand. We a lot of the brands in here, we use what people wear on the kind of casual wear. So we're in between. If you're a luxury, you buy us for your daily use, and you're low, you buy us for your premium. So we're in that space. And I think we have to benchmark both against the luxury and the premium and this kind of mass market as well, because we have to play in all the spaces, unfortunately. So when you want to have that premium experience, but you also want the convenience, you also want to have that kind of the personal touch. And I would say our dream right now is we've seen a few retailers actually recently where they're in the changing rooms and things, these kind of touchscreen panels where it recommends as you walk into the RFID, it already scans what you're trying on, starts giving you recommendations as you're trying it on, outfits and things. So this is not our ideas. This is stealing from somebody else. We're always learning from somebody else. But again, budget and all these bits and pieces and that as well playing a big part. And so, we constantly learn from the big guys. We steal with pride, as to say. So, yeah.
I completely agree with you. And I think we all need to learn from the competition. Right? We don't need to look in a bad way at what the other does. And the other way, there is inspiring strategies or new activations. Why not to bring it home? Very good. Now, Darine, the unified customer view. We spoke about, again, data. But what role does the cross-brand data integration play in creating a seamless customer experience in Chalhoub?
Can you clarify what you mean, like cross-brand shoppers, basically?
Yes, exactly.
So within Chalhoub, we have a Muse loyalty program, which is cross-brand. And obviously, this should help us as brands leverage the customer to make sure that we can upsell them and cross-sell them. To be honest, it's a quite complex exercise because each brand obviously works on their own strategy, and then we count on the loyalty team to help us with the Muse loyalty is a shared loyalty program for Chalhoub. So we count on that to kind of help us with this cross-pollination and insights. But the brands are super varied as well within Chalhoub. Especially, let's say, within the own brand, you have Level Shoes, that is the leader in footwear and leather goods. You have Faces, which is in fashion. You have Tanagra, which is in homeware. So there is intersections, obviously, between customers, but the why of the intersection is still not clear, and I think it needs more time to be explored. And actually, like, what's quite interesting is maybe there is more dissimilarities than similarities between the brands, right?
Yeah, maybe the AI will help you with that because actually you have the data, right? So maybe someone that buys in Faces, the day after is buying in Talar. And this is where AI would maybe help you because you have a good quality of data, and this will definitely allow you to personalize more the offers to the Chalhoub clients, let's say. Very good. I think we finished with the last question, or we have more time. We're pretty much good. Alicia, we finished with you. Balancing the growth and the brand DNA. So with a rapid regional growth, how do you ensure that you preserve your brand DNA across markets? Actually, this is a question maybe for all the panelists of tonight, but it goes to you. So how do you preserve your brand DNA in this exceptional rapid market?
I normally compare brands with people. If I imagine I am the brand, or if I imagine the brands I manage to be people, well, how much you can evolve. You have a certain value set, you have a certain DNA, and you need to make sure that you respect yourself regardless of the context. Then, according to the context, you can, let's say, harmonize your expressions and make sure that you're understood. I'm Italian, we're speaking in English, otherwise we wouldn't be able to have a conversation. Still, my DNA remains that. But I adapt myself and brands to the same, or at least in my perspective. But again, you need to know who you are, to bring it and represent it in every single market you operate. When it comes to GCC, what I'm realizing is that it's very important to be even more inclusive, even when you work in industries that push you more towards being exclusive. So in this paradox, you need to find a way to make sure that all of the beautiful different nationalities that exist within this country are being served, understand you, are compelled by you in the right way. And this is a challenge because you need to be very in contact, in sync with yourself and with your brand, with your entire fundamental chart, to then make sure that according to the situation, according to the client, according to this experience, regardless of the channel, you are able to exist. Remember, sometimes you might not be relevant, but I think that we also need to acknowledge in this region for how fast it is, more than probably everywhere else in the world, that we cannot stand up for everything. We need to be very sharp and focused.
I like that we finish this beautiful night with a human touch and with this sentence that we try to be inclusive in a market that wants to be exclusive. Thank you so much, everyone. Big thank you for your attendance tonight. Thank you, everyone. And we'll continue our conversation next door. And if you want to have a closing word,
So,
of course,
I would just have a opinion. So,
please.
The omnichannel microphone for you.
this one for sure. I like this one. Thank you so much. I think very good evening, everyone. Firstly, a very big thank you for everyone to join. I know that November, December is crazy times. But I wanted to share with all of you that today is like a dream come true. When we started Retail Remix about a year ago, the vision was that one day the community would take over and everything that would happen here would be done by the community. A big thank you to both Alessandro and Giulio for making that vision and dream come to reality. I think today none of us from the Find team was involved in any of the conversations. This is completely set up by the community, for the community, and dedicated to the community. So as retailers, I think it's our promise, both at Find and at Retail Remix, to bring people together so that they can share knowledge and we can all learn from each other, grow, help each other out. And I think that's the way the region, I think one of the specialities of the region is that when people come together, they make magic happen. And tonight was absolutely magical. I have no words to thank all the panelists, Marc, Alicia, Darine, I think Roger before this, Alessandro, and most of all to Giulio. I think this is one of the best moderated panels that I've listened to. I was seeing everyone's expression. Everyone is completely involved. This means a lot to us. Thank you very much, Giulio. Thank you everyone for taking time out, and such a pleasure to see all of you. Let's continue the fun with the drinks and dinner. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.